lift that one up. That's a bad angle.
Oh no, but it's already live.
So,
What's up, guys? How are you? It's me, Justo, with Buildworth Strategies. I'm over here with my business partner, Cynthia, our processing manager.
hi.
What's up? And, well, on today's topic, we actually just wanted to go over a few things. Obviously, we always have people, clients, friends, and family members that always ask us questions with regards to credit and how certain things impact their credit. And we wanted to go ahead and talk about a specific topic as to how could we identify an account, or how do we identify or know as to what happens or causes as to your scores dropping. And so we actually wanted to go ahead and elaborate, share as much information as possible. I don't even know what to look at.
We'll take turns.
All right, we're doing two lives. I got the Facebook and I got the YouTube. So so with that said, I wanted to talk a little bit about that. Why have my scores dropped? And that's obviously something that's common. That's something that it happens. And we just wanted to give some clarification as to how to go about that. So I don't know.
Well, one of the if you see like a big drop on your credit score, it can primarily be that maybe there's a new late payment that has been reported, or a new negative item like a collection or something like that that has caused for you to that has caused for it to drop. If you see something like incremental, like where it's smaller, maybe it's just as utilization has changed, the balances in your credit cards that have reported, maybe there's a slighter, bigger increase in the 30%, or it can also just be inquiries, a lot of inquiries.
Yeah, so what happens is, and again, it depends the type of drop that you have. But starting off from the beginning as to the way that I like to go ahead and analyze something, especially when it comes to an existing client or it comes to something specifically to myself, the number one tool that you guys should be using is your credit monitoring. Because it's very difficult for anybody to really give you accurate numbers or accurate figures as to what happened, why did your scores drop, just because they dropped, right? Sometimes we can't really tell unless we have an existing credit report or a report that we can literally compare the old report with the new report to really pinpoint precisely as to what was the cause. So there could be a lot of different factors, but the best way to go about it, guys, and again, this is why we always reiterate, this is why we're always suggesting and encourage you guys to have a tool like credit monitoring. So if you guys have Privacy Guard, have Credit Check Total, myfigo.com, Experian.com, have something that gives it to you every 30 days.
Yeah.
Especially if you're looking to have healthy credit, that's gonna be the roadmap, right? So what you do is, the way that we like to go ahead and go about it is really just going account by account or line by line and really comparing, because it's very difficult out of the fly or anybody just to tell you, oh, my scores dropped. Why? The first thing that I'm going to ask them is, well, do you have a copy of your old credit report, or do you have last month's credit report? Because I'm going to go ahead and compare that to this month's credit report and really just know. So there's a lot of factors as to why your scores can drop or increase, right? So a few factors, especially when we're looking at the FICO platform or formula, we're talking about there's 5 different tiers, right? So the biggest portion is payment history. So one of the biggest factors as to why your scores could drop is, well, maybe you have a late payment, or maybe you have a collection that just came out to your credit report. Maybe there's some sort of charge-off that just occurred, or maybe you were an authorized user and that person made a late payment. Who knows?
Or there was already a charge-off account that maybe was reporting you in your payment history as okay, and then now they went ahead and they re-aged it, and now they're re-reporting on your payment history the same negative information. That we've seen in some cases where like the utilization is fine, there's no new inquiries, everything's pretty much the same, but when you really look at the fine-tuned detail of like the payment history, you see that 1 month it was reporting okay, and then boom, all of a sudden now there's a new like KD or charge-off status that'll cause it to drop again.
Yeah, because there's sometimes too, is the re-aging of the information, the re-aging of the accounts. This also has, or that similar situation could also happen when we're talking about a collection. Sometimes, obviously, we kind of feel like, oh, by paying out this collection, it's going to be something that's positive. But in reality, what you're actually doing, if that account has not, updated their information in the last 2 or 3 years or whatnot, and all of a sudden you made one single payment to that item, guess what's going to happen? Then the information is going to go ahead and get re-aged. The information is going to get updated,
Right.
which it has the same negative impact as it coming onto your credit report for the first time. So that could be obviously a reason. I know I wanted to go ahead and just, somebody asked a question about not to use Privacy Guard while they're in our program or whatnot, but for the most part, what we encourage people to do is use our platform, guys. The Privacy Guard is something that our processors use, and the reason why is because, just to give a little bit of an explanation there, remember that there's 2 dates. The calendar cycle for credit monitoring is every 30 days, which doesn't coincide with the 30 business days that the agency, absolutely. So in our platform, we share like the countdown, so you'll know exactly. But if you guys pull the report 30 days from the date, from the first time that you initiated, guess what? You might not get the full spectrum as to what really happened.
Yeah, the full update.
So you're just going to basically pull your credit prematurely. So that's just a side note. I know obviously we had somebody with that question. So now going back to the same thing. So now we're talking about a collection. You paying out for collection or making a payment arrangement, that could have a huge negative impact, especially depending on obviously what the goals are. If you have a charge-off, which is what Cynthia was saying, that could also be a reason as to why your scores could obviously drop. A huge factor too, guys, keep in mind, it could also be because of the utilization.
Right.
So you could literally have a credit card, something happened, or maybe you used it and you went above the 30% utilization. Keep in mind, as soon as you go above the 30, naturally your credit scores are going to start dropping.
And another thing that I wanted to place on as far as the credit utilization, it's looked at, oftentimes you'll see a summary as far as like taking into all your availability of credit and what that whole balance is and gives you that. But then there's also an individual aspect per credit card. So like if one credit card is over that 30%, you can potentially see a decrease.
Yes.
Even though your overall utilization might be within the 30%, but that one card is going to have an effect on you. So you want to make sure that you're looking at both your whole, as a whole, your utilization, and also individually. Because that individual credit card will have an impact on you as well.
And then another factor with that is also history. And this has also not only happened when it comes to actually either when you're doing your own disputes or you're repairing your own credit, or maybe you consulted a company like ours. But keep in mind, guys, for me personally, you're never going to achieve the highest score possible by having any kind of blemish. So if you have a negative account, maybe an account that you've had for 8-9 years, but guess what? And now it's closed or it had late payments in one particular time, and we remove it, because guess what? It's closed, so we're not. The intention is not to keep it, but at the same time, once it's removed, guess what? You just removed history,
credit history, payment history, whatever. But a big part of that is the credit history, which is another point actually. Sometimes we have customers that come in and they're rebuilding their credit, and they primarily just have negative items. They don't have any positive credit cards. They start getting the secured card, or they start getting added on as an authorized user. But then what happens? While that is happening, that new positive credit history is baby. It's baby history.
Yeah.
And then you start removing all these old negative accounts, and you start seeing, you can potentially see a drop. But what happens? You're cleaning up your credit. You're removing your blemishes. So it's like you're kind of pressing the restart button on your credit. So it's kind of like it's a little bit of a setback, but now you're going to be able to propel yourself forward in a positive manner. So
it might have a greater incentive
Right.
removing the negative history, because it's always easier to build once you don't have any
Exactly.
kind of blemishes.
Exactly.
So the reward in the future is you're gonna see the reward, but
Yeah.
initially you might not see it because obviously you're removing some of that history.
Right.
Another thing too, guys, also keep in mind inquiries. It's something with obviously just piggybacking on what Cindy's saying, especially when if you're preparing yourself to go to a car dealership, or you're trying to buy a house, or whatever the situation might be. Keep in mind that there's two types of inquiries. We have a hard pull
And a soft.
and a soft pull, right? So the hard pull goes back to what the lenders and the creditors need to obtain in order for them to qualify you for the loan. And then we have soft inquiries, such as maybe you applied for Comcast, or maybe you applied for, because you just moved to a new property and they're doing a background check and they need to run credit. Those are soft inquiries, guys. Those
Employer. Also.
employers, those don't even drop your scores. But normally, if you're gonna go ahead and apply for something like a car loan, a credit card, you're applying for a bank loan, a business loan, and they do a hard inquiry, it could drop anywhere from 3 to 8 points. So this is this is where I highly encourage people, especially you trying to buy cars, already have a copy of your credit report. This way, having a copy of the credit report, you can literally give that over to the underwriter or to the banker, and then they could more or less give you, expectations as to more or less what you're eligible for or qualifying for. This way, they're not having to run your credit in order for them to determine.
Right.
But again, also that depends, because keep in mind too, we have different credit monitorings, right? And we're not gonna have what the lenders have.
Right.
So the closest thing to that, if you're looking or considering to apply, is to go through myfico.com. MyFICO gives you many different versions of what the FICO platform has, and it could literally more or less guide you as to what that is,
Another thing that I want to say towards that, definitely educate yourself as a consumer on what is the whole process. Like if you've never gone and purchased a vehicle on your own, do your due diligence. Like, and that's something that I like to communicate to our customers if they're asking us, oh, can I go buy a car at this time? Definitely you want to look at where your credit stands now. Do you have previous credit history with another auto loan? What does that look like? Because I'm sure a lot of them do look into that as well. Do you have sufficient credit history? Also do your research on the vehicle that you're interested in getting. What you're going to be paying. There's infinite amount of free calculators online. So you can already gauge more or less depending on what your credit score is using MyFICO, because they give you different credit scores for different industries, to kind of have an idea. So go prepared mentally, financially, knowing what you're capable of doing, because in that way you're kind of avoiding just out of a necessity or impulse or something. You're like, oh, now that, because a lot of dealerships sometimes, and depending where you're going, they're gonna run your credit with like a plethora of different financial institutions for the sake of approving you. And then here you have, in 1 month span, on one day, you have over 10, 15 inquiries, and then your score is dropping. So you definitely want to prepare yourself ahead of time with ample time. You never want to do it quickly, right on the fly. Always prepare yourself. Education is going to be key whenever you're going to start making moves regarding your credit.
Yep. And the last thing with regards to the FICO platform, the 5 different tiers as to what can cause your scores to drop, it could also be because of mixture of credit. Take into consideration that there's 3 types of accounts that report on your credit report that have an impact, and that's going to be a car loan or installment accounts, which technically is an installment account. We have student loans, those type of accounts. We also have mortgages, which obviously it's the purchase of a home, and we also have revolving, which are credit cards. And if obviously you had an account, maybe you had a loan or a student loan, and that obviously got deleted because it had some sort of negative information, then you're not really fulfilling the 3 types of accounts that you can have on your credit report to maximize on what 10% of that mixture of credit accounts for. So if that was something that was taken off, then that could obviously drop your scores as well.
Right.
So overall, guys, there's obviously every case is different. The best way to go about it is honestly for me is literally just having the old credit report, having the new one, and just going line by line. Sometimes, as a matter of fact, even when you've initiated disputes, even when you've initiated, those type of validation, then it happened to me personally. Even though I've had an account and I disputed something with Equifax deleted an account that was literally legitimately mine. It was an open account. It was active. I wasn't trying to dispute it, but it happens. It's, and again, it could be a human error. It could be, a system error. But the best way to go about it is do your due diligence, have access to your credit monitoring, monitor your credit consistently, constantly, so that this way you avoid any kind of, rushes. So.
One thing I also want to say, it's worth having a credit monitoring service provider that allows you to always go back to your previous credit reports. Privacy Guard is one that we use, but just so that everyone knows, every time we access one for the month, we're always saving it. So if you ever need it as a referral and you want to review it yourself, by all means, you can ask us. We'll send it over to you. But I know like Experian and MyFICO and Credit Check Total, you can always go to your archived reports and be able to compare them there as well. I know there are free credit monitoring things out there. to not mention any of them.
Credit Karma?
Yeah. I wasn't gonna try to say it,
It's
but
nothing wrong with Credit Karma. I have Credit
if
Karma
it's
myself.
fine,
I like
that's
it.
great for
I
a
like it.
daily,
Yeah.
but just keep in mind that everything your credit score is very volatile. It's always gonna be changing depending on when a creditor is reporting and when you're running your credit and so on and so forth. And the only thing about them is that you are not gonna have access to Experian, and
Yeah.
you need to have access to all three because you just want to be fully informed.
Is that every agency plays a role, guys. You know, for the most part, companies like Chase, Bank of America, they run through Experian. You know, major companies like that. Some other companies might just use TransUnion, and might just
Right.
use Equifax. But at the end, it's important to have all three optimal, having them really healthy. But I hope all this information obviously helps you guys out to determining if you do have an issue with your credit. You know, obviously your scores drop. Go ahead and again, just take the advice that we've given. It's more or less what I normally do, what Cindy out here, and she's dealing with clients consistently all the time, always looking at reports, and that's just the best way to go about it. So I hope that helps. We're going to obviously continue to provide you guys as much information as possible.
Submit any questions
Yes.
or things you want to know about, that we maybe want us to bring up a topic you want us to go a little bit deeper into. That definitely we'll do our best to give you all the information possible.
Absolutely, and obviously, you know, like, subscribe, comment, share, and if you guys have any questions with regards to everything that we're saying, just let us know, and we're here for you guys. So
All right.
I hope this helps.
See you
Good luck.
next week.
Take care.
Bye.
Wait. I don't know. On this one?